Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Top Producers Nation podcast. This, of course, is the podcast to help agents become top producers in your desired market, wherever that may be. We also want to help team leaders and brokers develop more top producers in your organization, and so we have that ability as well. We broken, Rob? Are you all right? Oh. He's a little frustrated over there. So we're not going right now? Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Top Producers Nation podcast. This, of course, is the podcast that is made to help more agents become top producers in their desired market. We also want to help brokers and team leaders produce and develop more top producers in their organizations as well. You can check out how we do that at topproducersnation.com to see the online community, see the different software, the resources, the consulting, the training, all kinds of ways to help you become the top producer that you should be if you're in this business for the right reasons. And we are powered on a local level by the Tampa Bay Real Producers franchise here in Tampa Bay, Florida. We're now in our beautiful studio, of course, on the corner of West Shore and where are we anyway? West Shore and Kennedy. That'd be right. West Shore and Kennedy is where we're located now. And we have we feature the top 500 producing agents here in this local market. Many times we bring them live here into the studio. And today we have one of those who we have actually featured twice over the years, Mr. Jake Schmidt. He is the broker and owner of Capstar Real Estate. Jake was featured as a featured broker in our most recent issue, our October issue of the Tampa Bay Real Producers Magazine. He also was featured, I saw about 2 years ago, in a Making a Difference section, which was highlighting one of the charities that you were affiliated with at the time. But it's good to have you in studio, Jake. How are you, bro?
I'm good, man. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, no doubt. Good to have you here. So for those of you who might not know much yet about Jake's story or how he's become a top producer, we'll kind of start there a little bit with your background. Did you grow up in Tampa? How'd you get here? And how'd you get interested in real estate?
Yeah, so I came down from Rochester, New York, recruited out of high school on scholarship to play lacrosse at the University of Tampa in 2012.
We always connected on that. I'm a fellow Spartan myself.
Yeah. The
not lacrosse though. Baseball
strong.
was for me.
I'm on the board of fellows now with over at UT. That's a great community to be involved with as well. Yep. So I came down to play lacrosse. Ended up playing 5 years, redshirted because I tore my quad my sophomore year. Did my bachelor's and then finished with my master's in entrepreneurship over there. Mm-hmm. And one of my professors, Dean Kutramanis, told me after a failed business venture I had in that program, hey, you got real estate written all over you. And, at the time I was catering at Fresh Kitchen on my moped and then catching Ubers to the Hard Rock to play poker to pay my rent. And luckily enough, I think it was August or July 2017. They had a promotion going on. If you sit at the table for 50 hours, they give you $500.
Okay.
And I was just sitting there waiting for the nuts, and really playing super conservative to kind of protect the investment into the game.
Sure.
And I sat at the table 162 hours that month.
Nice.
So I got $1,500 from the Hard Rock. Ended up getting my real estate license August 2017.
So that's how you funded the real estate license.
How I funded the license.
Nice.
Dean Kutramanis' recommendation.
Very cool.
Finished up my master's that December. Got into real estate. Sold my first property in February 2018.
Nice.
Did that for the remainder of the year. The rates went up a little bit, and I didn't really know anybody who owned properties. Being 23 years old. Still with my sphere of influence out of UT. So I didn't know when the next check was going to come in for like 4 or 5 months. Had an opportunity to join Stryker Medical Device. I did that from January 2019 to August 2021. So I was in the operating room with orthopedic surgeons.
Oh, wow.
Selling to mainly orthopedic guys, video and sports medicine equipment. So if you tore your labrum, your rotator cuff, hip and knee, if you tore your ACL, I was in there in the trenches with those guys selling to them. And that's kind of where I learned how to sell, really. And once the epidemic happened, we were all elective surgery. So we had 8 weeks off per se. Because we weren't going to the hospitals. And that's when, I was losing my mind at home. So I started up an Instagram page called the Homeowner Club, just trying to get creative to fill time with things. And that's when, I caught some wind with, my marketing and real estate. And I was kind of doing both that first year at Stryker too. 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. I was in the OR. And then, whenever cases were done, 2 or 3 p.m. till 10 or 11 at night, I was kind of working both angles. And then in August of 2021, I had to make a decision that, working from the sub-sterile room, trying to juggle both, selling homes in my scrubs, it just wasn't working. So I cut that off, kind of bet on myself and went all in on real estate. I had the whole migration from the north coming down. So I was confident in where the market was heading in, 2021 and 2022.
Pretty much boom years in the real estate market.
Yep, for sure. And I was with Mahara and Associates. Shout out Ray Mahara, awesome broker, great guy. And he, held my hand, through the evolution of that, and making it kind of seamless for me to organically build out a team. There was a lot of volume coming in, so I needed help. So he kind of coached me up on how to bring in a couple guys, Ethan Marsh and Luke Kerwin were kind of my go-to 1 and 2 punch. And we built out a little bit of a team during that 21-22 era. And then it kind of just organically built itself.
Yeah.
I think I had 9 agents under, the Jake Schmidt group over at Mahara and Associates. And then, I had several conversations with Ray, and, ultimately we decided to, split ways, and I started up Capstar Real Estate with 2 good friends of mine, who are no longer with Capstar today, but Bishoy Habib, real estate attorney locally, and then Gabe Kozel, who's he was a wholesaler by trade, basically a marketing guru, and he went his own way, doing his own CRM automation setup now. So yeah, I mean, it's been a pretty crazy.
What year did you start Capstar?
It was November 2023, but
Okay.
it was kind of incepted and thought about, from about Q1, Q2, 2023. And then, we put one foot in front of another and then ended up, starting up the brand. We kind of came out of the gates having office space in downtown Tampa. And, that was kind of like our introduction to the market. And then we realized and had to pivot. We were like, I don't think being on the 37th floor of the Truist building is really it for us.
Right.
So, it was cool and flashy and whatnot. And then we were like, I don't know how productive it is. So we adapted and went, more of the hybrid role, really, working out of Hyde House and then meeting up in different areas of town, whatever that looked like. And then we kind of recalibrated what Capstar kind of is today. Initially we wanted to build out like a crazy training program per se. My roots developed from Keller Williams, South Tampa. That's where I first got going in the game. Did the whole Ignite program. That was awesome. And then I popped around to a few different brokerages, looking for kind of like the shiny object, like who's going to give me what I need to get this business going. So I learned a lot in like how different brokerages operate. And then, moving forward from what we initially thought we were going to do, like build it like a big box retail brokerage, like your Coldwell Bankers, Keller Williams, those type of brands, Remax, of course. We pivoted and, we wanted to be more of like a lean and mean type machine because we had Gabe and then myself on the retail arm. So we had like the wholesale and retail kind of 1-2 punch. And we did a lot of like direct to seller campaigns. Gabe's genius with all of that. So I kind of learned that background prospecting kind of element and how to wheel it into the retail side. And then just kind of, we went into the wholesale realm too. Furthermore, getting into novations and subject twos and really just finding ways
a lot
to
of
make
the investment strategy, it sounds like.
Yeah.
So we've covered a lot of ground already with this journey and where it's evolved to. So to back up just a little bit. So you got licensed way back 2017, it sounds like. And when you were going through these early years, I know you were still working there in the medical role back then. So it was kind of like a part-time feel for you, it sounds like. Did you, on the real estate side, have a desire to build a team? Was that always kind of the plan, or did that just kind of happen because you had enough volume that you feel like there was a need for it?
Yeah, not really. I didn't have a want to build a team. It just kind of happened organically.
Eventually, once you committed to it full time, which I think you said around 2021.
Yeah, I mean, I would say like end of 2020.
Okay.
Right when the market kind of spiked up a little bit. Once the shutdown, everyone kind of dust settled with the shutdown. I would say that's when I was like, all right, this is the medical device is kind of a means to an end, but it provided stability and ultimately got my investment portfolio off the ground with, the W-2 and whatnot. So it kind of just happened. And then really with the focus of just making sure people are taken care of. And if I was not giving someone enough attention or whatnot, then I had the team to help out, and it ended up working out for sure.
Yeah, that makes sense. Did you find it challenging as you were starting that process of building the team? Because that really, in many ways, is a separate responsibility and a separate job in and of itself, supporting other agents, coaching them, mentoring them, which I know you do that today as a broker. We'll talk about that. But you also had your own volume, and I know you still have your own volume today. A lot of people struggle with that balance of like running my own business, right? Taking care of my own clients, having that be a consistent part of my business, but then also having these agents now that I'm responsible for. Was that an easy balance for you, or did you struggle with that a lot?
I would say it was relatively easy, really because I was super selective on who I brought in on the team. Everyone who we gravitated towards, both parties really. I treated it more like they were business partners rather than like teammates.
I gotcha.
Right? There was no like hierarchy or organizational structure where I was higher than them. They're kind of like my partners in a way. So, when they needed questions, I know that they didn't hesitate to reach out to me, even if it's 11 o'clock at night, like I'm always going to hop on the horn or shoot them a text back, and we could work it together.
Yeah.
And those select people, majority of them came from like the athletic background, playing lacrosse at UT, and those other guys went to UT as well, both hockey guys. We have a professional hockey guy as well at Capstar now, a professional soccer guy, a guy who played in the NFL, different characters like that, where,
there's a commonality there.
Yeah. It's like a seamless mindset, basically, because I know what you're thinking, what I'm thinking. It's more of a collaborative environment rather than like, oh, why aren't you helping me?
Right.
That's kind of how it
and it's smart. I mean, identifying, and I'm assuming even today, do you still recruit and add agents onto the team today? Or is that kind of just like if you find the right person, you might consider bringing them on?
Correct. Yeah.
You're not intentionally or actively recruiting.
Correct. Yeah.
I got you.
It's more of like an organic thing. And I know in the market now, there's a lot of people bouncing around different brokerages because maybe the lack of volume or whatnot. And, I'm cognizant of that because I was in their shoes, earlier on in my career. And, thinking about how people are moving like that, it makes the selection process a little bit easier.
Yep.
No,
that makes sense. So the role you have today as the broker owner there of Capstar, talk to us a little bit about how it's different compared to what you kind of were doing in those earlier years, growing up in the business and serving, I'm assuming, mostly your traditional residential retail clients, right? Buyers and sellers. Is that kind of how you did most of your business?
Yeah.
At some point, it sounds like you guys did innovate where you had a lot of investment portfolio stuff happening, a lot of investment strategies that were mixed into this business model. And that might have been due to you mentioned one of the partners that you think was great at the prospecting side and kind of finding some of those distressed assets maybe, or some of those people willing to sell maybe at a below market type price, because that's usually what you need in the investment world, right? Do you still have and dabble? I know you have a lot of projects. We'll touch on that too that you're working on, but do you still dabble with that investor side business model, traditional business model? Is there a balance of both happening in your brokerage today? What's that look like?
Yeah. Yep. So definitely a balance of both. On the residential side, mainly retail buyers and sellers, and on the commercial side, more industrial and wholesale. Just how the prospecting's been working. And we
didn't even mention that because there's also now, as you said, a commercial side.
Yep.
Right. So you have this commercial division, for lack of a better word. You have your retail, traditional real estate, quote unquote, division. And then is there also like a residential investment element too that's still involved, or not as much?
Not as much.
Okay.
Not as much. When it comes down to it, I've had fun just having a natural curiosity and trying to make deals work and like just structuring them, kind of putting the pieces of the puzzle together, no matter what they look like. So if, I was connected to someone, I kind of work with them, and I treat clients like a partner as well, especially on the investment side. I'm thinking of their deal and how I could help them facilitate their goal. So, thinking about it and kind of reverse engineering their goals, it depends on what they want to do. There's, in my opinion, there's different kind of investors, passive, active, and kind of hybrid. So thinking about and listening to them and how they want to do it. I even help people source capital. So there's been another lane of, the ones that you've mentioned in capitalizing custom home buildings, and the development of those. So I'll connect, some of my investors with the capital and some of my developers and helping them, mesh that relationship so that they could find land, do the acquisition and construction and then sell.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. It's one of the beautiful things about real estate, period, is there are so many different strategies and ways that you can be successful with. I also find it interesting, though. I think one of the things that a lot of people struggle with is if they try to do too many of these different strategies, they don't really get good at any of them, and it's like this feeling of just maybe dabbling with certain things and never really gaining momentum and traction. But I mean, you obviously have had success in, it seems like, multiple paths, right? And getting some traction with it. Is there anything you can point to that you think has helped you make that work for you rather than have it be the opposite, the distraction side?
Yeah, for sure. So I think it comes back to Ray Mahara.
Yeah.
He told me, Jake, have all the balls in the air and, kind of decide and be tactical in how you're thinking about each of these. And, first and foremost, think about the people first. and service the people. That's what we're in. We're in a people business. We're servicing people.
Yep.
So instead, I don't believe in particularly farming in one particular neighborhood, because my marketing model has been, it was more of like the fishing outlook where you're putting out the net and seeing who bites, right?
Yeah.
And then now it's more of like the magnetism model where, you're attracting people who want to work with you. And, with that, I'm helping people and servicing people. So, I have a contract in Wesley Chapel now. I have a contract in South St. Pete, so following my people. And, with that, I got to learn all these different markets. And from my perspective, I think the best way to service people is deep diving into the market once you're into it. And it's so volatile and all these different pockets and neighborhoods change. So farming a particular neighborhood, I think, is more for a marketing purpose rather than, hey, I know what a price per square foot in Bayshore Beautiful looks like.
Sure.
Because you could do homework on that. You could dive into the numbers and the tax records and this and that. And it's just a research process, if you ask me, opposed to, following your people and taking care of them.
And when you say your people, are you talking about your agents, your clients?
Clients,
both?
more so.
Okay.
Clients more so. And then
what their needs are, where they're looking to buy,
For
what type of deal. And so is there do you have a personal preference at all in terms of the types of clients that you love to serve, whether that's the investor type client, the traditional retail type client? Does it matter to you either way?
I would say I've been super grateful for people who trust me. No particular preference on investment or, retail, whatever that looks like. I think it's more so just a personality thing and where the relationship blends the best. And people who trust me because they know that I'm looking out for their best interest and I'm treating their deal like it's mine.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And you just recently, we talked off camera, started a commercial division as well, Capstar Commercial. I think you mentioned you have 4 agents right now on your team that are focused on the commercial side, it sounds like. So, and you have a couple of projects. You also have the restaurant that we talked about. So if you want to throw that out there for people to check that out too. But talk a little bit about the thought of the commercial side. What was appealing about that for you and where you see that going? Yeah,
so the commercial side was born with a friend of mine. He's actually based out of LA. Jovan Jokic, Serbian guy. He's a gamer. He's super competitive, and I love the way that he moves. We've always just talked about the collaboration. Like, hey, what are you doing out there?
Is he related to Jokic of the Denver Nuggets, or
not a Nikola Jokic member? But he's a fan for sure. Anyways, he, I just like the way he moves and the deals that he was doing. He's based out of LA, licensed out there, but doing deals in Florida and Tennessee.
Okay.
And he would ask me about different markets over here because I have access to the records and whatnot. So I would help him out on that front, and I would ask him different prospecting questions. And he's kind of a whiz. He's a wizard in the industrial world. So I've always had a curiosity for that, just because there's tons of opportunity for that. The I-4 corridor. And blending Tampa, Orlando. So that just kind of happened organically, and I had a curiosity for it, and we would just kind of spit game off one another. And eventually he was like, hey, I'm kind of looking for a change in my commercial brokerage. And I was like, well, I have the infrastructure in place to launch the commercial side. So him and I collabed, and he's became a co-partner for Capstar CRE. And it's been fun. We did this maybe 45 days ago from today, and Tuesday was our first closing. He had a pipeline and whatnot filled out. So, we're building up that slowly and surely, right? And organically, like what you mentioned about Cousin Vinny's, that's shout out to Cousin Vinny's. It's
check it out, people.
Yeah, it's an Italian-American, fast casual sandwich shop in North Hyde Park, right next to Santoro's there on Cass and Rome.
Are you a silent partner there? Or are you pretty actively involved?
I would say active.
Yeah.
We have Russell and Vinny who are, in the trenches every day. But on like the strategy side of things, and, when it comes to marketing, business development, and the real estate side of growing that business, that's where I'm more involved, but not on a day-to-day type of thing.
Okay.
But it was like a hobby turned passion project turned like, we got something here.
Who doesn't love an Italian deli? I mean, come on, especially coming from New York.
Chicken cutlets and vodka sauce. All that.
In New York, it's really called a delicatessen. I mean, we know this.
All that good stuff. So, with that, I've had exposure to franchising that, and we're placing LOIs out for locations 2 and 3
Nice.
to scale that business. And, that's direct commercial real estate as well. So it just kind of happened organically too, more on the retail side. Not as fun, I would say, as, other niches in commercial. But, certainly like you got to put your thinking cap on and think about real estate in a different way, which makes it fun for me. And it's more analytical, I guess you'd say.
It's based on the numbers, for sure.
Based on the numbers, foot traffic, parking spaces, the emotional side of the residential element is taken out of it, which makes it fun for me because I like doing numbers. And it's been kind of like a game in a different way. Yeah. So that's happened, and I'm taking it and running with it.
Yeah, man. Well, I mean, obviously you have a lot of entrepreneurial characteristics and traits, and that is a blessing in many ways. And a lot of people say it's also sometimes a curse to have different things that could be viewed as distractions to the main thing.
For sure.
But again, you've made it work very well, and I'm sure the sky's the limit as to where you see this commercial division going. And the restaurant franchise as another example. So what do you get most excited about when you think about like the future for Capstar, and where you want the brand to go? What gets you fired up when you think about what's going to happen next?
I think what gets me most fired up is loyalty amongst agents and building like long-term relationships with the people who are loyal to me. Yeah. Because if I pour into someone, I expect that in return. And, building something with someone like my buddy Tommy Mastrodonato, he's been
Mastrodonato.
Yeah, exactly. Rochester, New York guy as well.
I love it.
So he's been on my team since the Mahar and Associates days. He's had the longest tenure with Capstar, and like he's a guy who I know I could call up and he's there for me, and vice versa. So like building those type of relationships is where I want Capstar to go, and build up people's business, really, and help them build a life for themselves.
I love it.
And that's what gets me most excited is the loyalty and like just helping each other become successful.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. And I know that on the personal side, you're a big traveler. We just talked about off camera how you spent a month in Asia. Where was the other one? A month in Europe as well.
Yeah, the Mediterranean, yep.
And so that's a big part of your lifestyle. And how now do you do this with the team? Is this all kind of just whoever, is it agents who tend to go with you? Is it just friends? What does that look like?
It's kind of a blend. Yeah, it's a blend. So I've traveled with just about half of everyone who's with Capstar now, abroad and whatnot. But when we were in Europe, I went to 7 countries with 5 different groups. So kind of piecing together and popping around. I have fun doing that. I think there's no better education than traveling. Yep. And I've been lucky enough to kind of build out some sort of like a global network while traveling. I just have kind of that innate ability to network with people and like find value in one another and stay in touch with them and nourish those relationships. So like I have friends in Australia and Mediterranean and Greece. I have one of my buddies from Mykonos. He's coming to Tarpon Springs next month.
Nice.
Obviously, that's
the Greek spot.
The Greek hub.
That's right.
In Tampa. So he's going to revisit family that he hasn't seen in years because he could make the trip worth it. So he's going to stay with them for a week and then stay with me for a week. And he's a guy who I met out there. And we built a friendship over the last 2 summers. And, just those are the things that excite me. It's fun doing that. Like I said, no better education than traveling. And, the work-life balance, I know this always gets touched on when this comes up, but when I'm away, my computer's still active and my phone is still on. I know that the time difference sometimes makes it challenging, but I just set the expectation early and often with the folks who I need to be in touch with. If someone needs a direct communication, then I always give them, the group chat ahead of time and let them know. But, I think when I was in Asia in April, we secured 4 contracts. And we're on a 12-hour time difference in Indonesia. Yeah. It's just a matter of being disciplined. The idea of discipline equals freedom. I stand by that and I ride with that. And that's kind of like how I move.
You remind me of, I'm sure you've heard of Tim Ferriss, the guy that wrote the book, The 4-Hour Workweek. Have you ever read that?
I haven't read it, but I'm familiar with it.
It's an intriguing title because it's not really about working 4 hours, even though that's a great way to grab your attention, right? But in the book, if you read it, he talks a lot about that lifestyle of being able to travel globally, utilizing all the leverage we have at our disposal now, with the internet and of course and everything else. To create systems and a business model where you're not having to be tied to any spot geographically. Calls it like the vagabond lifestyle, right? Which some people, that's very appealing. Other people could they couldn't want to throw it further away from them. But I think there is an appealing nature to the travel element because, like you said, you learn so much when you go to other cultures. Years ago, I used to sell Cutco. I think I told you that. And that was one of the things we used to do a lot was travel to Europe and other places around the world. Most of it was sales incentives trips, and we would just go for fun for like 2 weeks at a time. But I look back at those days, and things are a little different now. I'm married here with 6 kids and a different lifestyle than I had then.
For sure.
But those were some really cool experiences that I know did shape my mindset and my thinking and my opened my eyes to a lot of different things that are possible, and met so many cool people, on a global level. So I do think there's a ton of value to that. I'm curious with the way that your business is set up right now. I find it interesting how I think your business model with a Capstar is very unique and different than most real estate people that I've had on the show, right? Whether they're independent agents or brokers, even in terms of how the strategies they pursued and how they've made it work. Where do you find yourself from a business side spending most of your energy and time? Is it on still serving your real estate clients? Is it on supporting your agents? Is it really balanced really between both of them pretty evenly? What do you find in that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the heartbeat of any business, if you ask me, is marketing and lead generation.
Yeah.
So, when I'm in my office in downtown St. Pete on Central and 6th, I'm collaborating with my back end team. We have an AI automation company that we've partnered up with, and I have two interns at University of Tampa who are interning personally with that AI company. So I'm helping them bridge the gap on the real estate side of it. So helping them come up with scripts and different binary flows on different targeted prospects, right?
Sure.
So, whatever that looks like, I'm helping them do their job with my real estate knowledge and then still facilitating my business. And those leads are the ones that we, ultimately not hand out, but have our partners help with, whether it's geographical or whether it's personality, whatever that looks like. So I would say, to answer your question, marketing and lead gen.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the heartbeat of it all. Without that, nothing happens.
Yep. And those leads are also for your own production as well as your team's production, it sounds like.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And mainly like direct to seller campaigns. Not so much investor or buyer outreach, those more so happen organically.
Yeah.
More like direct to seller campaigns when it comes to that.
I gotcha.
Yep.
The agents that you have on your team, do you have like buyer's agents and listing agents, or are they all just agents who specialize with both?
Yeah. I mean, that's another thing I never really paid any attention to, kind of like farming a particular neighborhood. Because I think that only gives you one feather in your hat. I was a little stubborn in my Keller Williams days in the Ignite program. I didn't want to join a team because of that same reason. Like, I didn't want to bang phones and try to get listing clients because I felt that people who were coming to me, like my clients and customers, friends, whatever, they wanted one or the other. And if I couldn't service them on one side of the ball, then I'm doing them a disservice, ultimately.
Yeah.
So I always teach people both buyer and seller, and then in the investor side of it too.
Yeah.
Because, I think there's kind of 4 lanes: buyer, seller, retail, buyer, seller, investment.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, it makes a lot of sense. And they are very different. So the ability for sometimes it's hard for an agent to have the mindset and the capability to serve those elements well.
Yep.
But if you're picky on who you're working with and you're working with people who you think are suited for that, I can see a ton of value, in being able to do that.
I mean, I even to the point, this always gets brought up too, like on a lot of discovery calls with sellers and buyers now, kind of the reputation that I built, or like they come to me through Instagram or whatever channel, you know, people say, oh, I know this isn't in your price bracket, but thank you so much for helping. And I always let them know, like, I don't discriminate on that by any means. Like, I'll help you out on a, you know, $250,000 transaction or a 2 million listing. You know, it doesn't matter to me. You know, sometimes I'll have to bring in a partner if there's a lot of time spent on a lower price point just because of time and, you know, delegating that. But, you know, I don't discriminate on price point. It's all about the people for me.
Yeah.
I always thought, like, you know, if you service someone the right way, you know, you work for the next referral, really. And that's how I built a business for myself. That's how I teach the agents too.
That's smart, man. That makes sense. And I can see why that model empowers your agents to grow their business, right? It's not such a pigeonholed approach where somebody can feel that way. And I think that causes some agents to look elsewhere for other opportunities. And you talked before about loyalty. And I think the way that you're approaching that and teaching your people the way you do also would just speak to more loyalty because they really feel like you're out for their best interest.
100%.
That's the way that it comes across to me anyway. So
yeah, it's easy to be real. A lot of people kind of make that difficult.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
So if you can find your way through that element in this market and just be a real person, you know, be consistent, be considerate, and be real, it's kind of easy to stand apart.
Yeah, man. You've done a lot of great things in a short period of time. If you haven't been licensed that long, not even 10 years yet, right? As an agent, but you've grown the business very well consistently. You've also had all these different divisions that you've been having some success with. So I applaud what you've been able to do already so far, Jake. It's exciting to see where things are going for you.
I appreciate that, man.
Yeah, no doubt. A couple rapid fire questions as we wrap up here, but I know we already talked about your travel passions. Is there anything else that you love to do, hobbies, interests, for people to get to know you more?
I don't know. Maybe, you know, I've grown a liking to the food industry because of the hospitality group I'm a part of now. The cigar world because of some Ybor City contacts that have brought me to the Fuente headquarters.
Okay.
You know, that's
have you been to the big cigar lounge up on 54 yet, over at the outlets by the Tampa outlets over there off of 54 and 75 connection? They have a pretty big
nice.
cigar one there that I think you would like to check out.
Cigar International?
Is that what it's called, Rob? You know the place I'm talking about? I do. I don't think that's the name though. I think it's something else. But they have a beautiful lounge in there. Nice. And they have a big outside area too with the fire pits and big TVs, and it's a cool spot to chill at.
Yeah, that's my favorite way to network.
There you go.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't say so. I mean, you know, in the investment side of things, I have some Bitcoin miners now.
Nice.
Yeah, that's a whole different story, but.
Cigar International, I guess. Yeah,
I've heard about that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that's been a fun lane to learn about. You know, I would say my hobbies.
Single guy?
Yeah.
Okay. So hey, women out there, if anybody's interested, want to ask Jake out, what's the best place for someone to reach you, Jake?
Instagram is the best way
Yes.
for clients to reach out. My phone number is on the Instagram as well. So it's J_Schmidt, SHMEET. Just Jake Schmidt is the handle. It has I
was about to say, is it pronounced Schmidt?
No, it's Schmidt.
Okay, I was about to say, I've been saying it wrong this whole time.
It's a nickname that derived through the lacrosse world.
Got it. That makes sense. Cool.
Yep.
Well, here are a couple quick rapid fire ones. Do you have a favorite book, author, seminar that you've ever gone to that you feel like has made an impact on you personally or professionally?
Shoe Dog by Phil Knight.
Yeah.
It's a
good book.
Pretty good book. Obviously, Nike is one of the global leaders. And, you know, just hearing his story, you know, selling encyclopedias door to door is like, that's
cool.
Yeah. True entrepreneurial story. That's an awesome book.
I don't think there's many more brands that are well known for their slogan. I mean, just do it is like.
Yeah. And even just that little sign, you know, like it's everywhere. Obviously, everybody knows what that means when they see it. So, and it's a great book too about the power of branding and the element that plays in any successful entrepreneurial, you know, pursuit that you're going after. I know we already talked about food, so we'll skip on that one. But do you have a favorite movie or TV show?
Don't watch too much TV or even movies. I'm more of a music guy.
Okay.
I build playlists on Spotify. That I would say that's more of a passion.
What's your jam? What type of music?
I don't know. I've kind of like been leaning towards like Afro house lately.
Okay.
I don't know why. Maybe it's trending or whatever it is, but that's been.
Is that your European in you?
It might be. It might be.
It's sinking in.
Yeah, it might be. I've been leaning towards that, and then there's like, I'm not really. I don't discriminate music either.
Yeah.
I mean, really not the heavy metal, hardcore rock stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, any kind of live music, I'm game.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, I got 2 last questions for you since we're running out of time here, unfortunately, but I feel like I can talk to you for a lot longer. I have questions about the business model that we didn't get a chance to get to. But if you were to share one piece of advice for an agent who maybe is newer in the business but really likes how you scaled your business model, they are thinking about, they have an interest potentially in investment side, they maybe are a little bit unclear on exactly which route to go, right? And that could cause some people to hold themselves back. So anything that comes to mind that you would share is like, what do you think is the most important thing for them to focus on first?
Just being curious and, going with each conversation with the forward thinking and like, you have to learn before you earn. So if someone doesn't have any clients or maybe needs to work on the marketing and lead gen, go figure out ways to do that. Mm-hmm. Go to YouTube. YouTube University is a thing. Mm-hmm. You could find
anything.
Yeah, you really can.
Mm-hmm.
So learning how to just really find any lane in the world.
Yeah.
Especially in real estate, like you touched on earlier, there's so many different things and ways to carve out a niche. Yeah. So if you learn how to find out each niche or how to navigate them, you could really move the needle, especially when it comes to, you could latch on to a mentor, different people like that, like find value to somebody and bring them value. Ultimately it comes back. So just give and it eventually come back to you.
Yeah, that's great advice. And then learn how to focus, right? If you're going to identify what that niche is, then ideally focus in on it until you get some results before you start getting distracted with other things, which could be easy to do in today's environment. Absolutely. Where there are so many other things. But it seems like what we hit on even with you is you had traction. You got a result before you started doing these other divisions and started building these things out. They weren't all done at the same time. And there was this process of getting results before moving on. I think that's an important point. All right, we'll end with this. So hopefully many, many years from now, when you're sitting on that rocking chair and looking back on your legacy and what you think would be most important to you in terms of what you'd want to be most remembered for, what are some thoughts that come to mind in terms of the legacy that you think you'd want to leave, Jake?
I think being the guy who always showed up, who always worked, and who always kept it real with people. My kind of thing is never ruining relationships. I focus on never doing that. I don't think there's anyone in town, hopefully, that will say that I'm a bad guy or I've done something wrong to them or anything along those lines. So being, just like I said earlier, being consistent, being considerate, and being real, it moves the needle. Whether it's business, whether, on the professional side or even socially, anything along those lines, just looking out for people and making sure that they could count on you and they could come to you, whether it's advice or just being a friend.
Yeah. I love it, man. Well, congratulations on the success that you had so far. I think the future is extremely bright in terms of where this is going with the whole new commercial division, with stuff you're still doing, of course, on the residential side, with your travel life. I don't know if you want to end up getting married any day, if that's even in the cards, but if it is, then that's the next challenge, I guess, right?
Six kids would be impressive.
I can give you some advice on that, Jacob, but that's a whole other podcast that we can get to. But we'll end with this. We always try to challenge the audience with a call to action. I'm a big believer that whenever you take the time, whether you're watching live on YouTube or any of our different platforms, or you're listening in on any of the other podcast platforms, what is one thing that you can do based on this conversation today with Jake that can help propel you forward personally or professionally? Just focus in on at least taking action on a minimum of one thing. And maybe it's, you might have been impressed by some of the different divisions that we touched on today that Jake has been able to build out over time. Maybe something sparked in you when he talked about the commercial side or the investment side residentially or the marketing and lead gen. I loved what Jake had to say about the importance of any business focusing on marketing and lead gen. That's a big thing that we preach too in our 4 principles of top producers framework that's in our community and that we have on our webinars that we run. So what What is it for you? What is that one thing that you need to get better at, that you can take action on to be able to propel you forward personally or professionally? Maybe you just want to have more of a travel lifestyle that Jake has been able to show you a model of, and could be picking his brain on how he has structured that and how it's worked for him, how he actually works in different countries to still get stuff done, but experiencing that element of travel in his life. Or you just might have to pick up the book Shoe Dog, whatever it might be. But take action. Do something, right? So that you lock in the value that you got from listening to this episode. You might just have to subscribe to our podcast. Click the little button below. That way you'll be notified every time that we drop a new episode, which is every week, with guests like Jake. Or you can go to topproducersnation.com to learn more about how to get more actively involved in what we do with Top Producers Nation to support you in being a top producer. Anyway, we will see you on the next episode of the Top Producers Nation podcast. We'll see you later.